I'm almost up. I will be done right now.
Say that again. What happened now?
No, I can't do that because you have this on the show.
No, I don't. No. What? Who needed what?
Somebody needed a lamp so she can read her Nook. And when she unplugged the lamp, they unplugged the internet.
And so the lamp and the internet are plugged into the same outlet, and she knocked one out.
I'm back on now.
Are all the lights on?
Fantastic.
I'm almost back on. Hold on.
Great.
That is the longest internet
Yeah.
reboot I've ever seen.
Are we connecting?
Oh, man. This week on Positively Godless, Scott absolutely botches the end of the show.
I did not.
Scott's calling in by phone.
I need to read a book during our show. I'm trying to call you right now.
Oh, by the way, we also do a recap of G-Man, and
I'm not done with my story. I'm calling you now. I'm hanging up. I'm calling you right now.
Okay, bye. We do a recap of G-Man, and we're going to talk about Intolerance. All that and more tonight. Positively Godless.
I can't.
Crazy. Over under.
All right, I gotta take it. You want me to go now?
Fine.
Go ahead.
Go.
Go.
Have 30 seconds.
Making me crazy.
Go.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Positively Godless. I am your host this week, Tyler Sulander, joined by Just Jerry, and thankfully not joined by Scott Lawrence. We've got an empty chair this week. Hey, Jerry.
Hi, Tyler.
It was nice enough, though, of Scott to at least boot up Skype and have it, running so that we could have that third chair in there.
Window there, yeah, right.
Oh, this is perfect. So how are you doing this week, Jerry?
I'm good. How are you?
I am so fantastic.
Hi, Gavin.
Hey, Gavin.
I can't wait to see his face. Are you gonna use that?
Is gonna be good. Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
for sure.
Because when he came back, when you did that, I was gonna be like, I got him real quick.
No, this works out way, way better. So,
how long does it take one man to pee?
I think I just heard the toilet flush in the background. So we had a very interesting episode last week.
Yes,
because we had G-Man on. We had a large amount, as I said in our previously non-recorded segment, we had a flurry of activity happen last week. And I wouldn't say it was really positive or negative as far as the content of those comments went, but we'll kind of get into those and go through what some of those were and talk a little bit more with the interview with G-Man and what our thoughts were and what we got from some of our loyal watchers that chimed in afterwards, so as well as some of the new ones.
Facebook.com/PositiveGodless, YouTube.com/PositiveGodless. Sorry, I was running. PositiveGodless@gmail.com and pgodless@twitter.com. Love you, Gavin.
Don't worry, we already said hi to Gavin. It's like 12 steps to the bathroom. How could you be winded?
I went upstairs and said hi to my muffin. My wife.
So, Scott, how are you doing this week?
Fine. How are you?
Splendid. Just splendid.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
Tip it back.
Oh, you mean like that mix of aspartame and natural sugar that you sweeten your... Oh, no, wait, that's Splenda.
What were you guys talking about while I was...
Uh-oh.
What happened?
Oh, Christ almighty God. Gosh. Sorry, gosh.
Well, you said Christ before that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Chris, gosh.
Oh,
what did you just say?
Chris almighty gosh.
Okay. So, either one of you guys want to say anything about G-Man being on the episode last week?
I want to thank G-Man for being on the episode, for starters. Absolutely, thank you. It was a good conversation. Sure, it got a little heated at some points, but I'm very, very proud of us as three co-hosts that we did our best to remain positive with a guest as animated as G-Man. And G-Man is quite popular, so with his appearance, thank you, G-Man. You just boasted some of our viewers, so
hopefully we can keep them.
Hopefully we can keep them. So at this rate, I don't know. But no. Hopefully we can keep them. I thought it went well. I watched the episode twice because I wanted to prepare for this episode. There are some things that I probably should have worked on. And but, you know, it is what it is. He's going to be back again in the future. When? I don't know.
Whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not. And G-Man is a very, very interesting individual. If you read our comments just on YouTube alone, he ain't that popular. But I understand why he's popular, if that makes sense. Am I making sense here?
Let's just get it out of the way.
He's not. Yeah, go ahead.
A contract does not equal being a slave. An NBA or an NFL or an NHL or an AHL or whatever sport you want to call it, that contract, the team owner, the owner of the team is just like the owner of a business that maybe somebody works for. But instead of calling them the boss, they call him the owner. That does not mean you are a slave if you are on the team.
And not only that, those, if you want to talk about NBA owners or musicians or football players or whatever it is, they work their butts off to do that. They work their butts off to be in the NBA. They work their butts off for a record contract. So that's not slavery. But I will help them out in a sense, and this can actually lead to pretty good discussion if you don't mind. Another argument that he's portrayed, and I can't remember if he did it on our show, was like, oh, you go to your job, so you're enslaved by your boss. Does that make? I think I've said that, or he said that on our show. But I think a better point or a better argument than the NBA or your employer would be the IRS. If you don't pay your taxes, then this can happen to you, that can happen to you. Then if those things don't satisfy that IRS debt, then you go to jail. So that would maybe create a much better argument. It's still BS, but it can...
Yeah, but then you're saying that things like, oh, well, if I get a bunch of parking tickets and I don't pay them and things go through the court system and then I'm going to get arrested, then I'm a slave of the judicial system and...
No, I think that's a bad example because, the old cliche of the only guarantee in life is death and taxes. So you have to pay your taxes when you're employed. Am I wrong? I don't know. I'm not trying to...
You also have to pay your parking tickets. You also have to pay for if you murder somebody. Are you a slave to the system if you murder somebody and you have to go to jail for it?
No.
That's different, Tyler, because
you're a criminal.
But you're a slave if you don't pay your taxes. Isn't that a crime?
Right. What I'm saying is that you have to pay your taxes. So in essence, you are a slave to the IRS because if you have a job You have to fill out your 1099s. You have to fill out your taxes. You
You
have
have
to
to
pay.
pay your utility bills.
And you
So
have to
aren't
pay your
you a
car
s-
payment.
Yeah,
And
aren't
so
you a
you're
slave
so you're
to
making his argument is basically what you're doing.
Right,
I'm,
aren't you a
I'm.
slave to the mortgage lender? Aren't you a slave
He's
to
used that
the
before.
utilities? Well, but that's what I'm saying. You're supporting his argument here.
I'm trying to help him to have a better argument for his argument. His argument still sucks, as far as slavery goes. But what I'm trying to do is help him create a better argument so he doesn't look like an idiot to other people. I'm actually, does that make sense?
Well, yeah,
I
because
get
now
it,
you're
but-
looking like an idiot.
I'm not looking like an idiot.
Yeah, you are. It has nothing to do with your statement that you just made. It just has to do with what you look like, right? I mean, look at the hair and the vest. And are you wearing lipstick? I mean, it's almost like you got a shade of
It's gloss, actually.
Okay, gloss, lip gloss. Sorry, so sorry.
Ladies and
I
gentlemen,
appreciate-
before we recorded today, he said that I would never deliberately make fun of any of you on the show. So
Who said that?
I think Tyler did, didn't you?
No, I said
No,
that I
he
would
said he
never.
wouldn't-
I would never deliberately put anything into the bloopers that would embarrass you guys in any sort of way.
Oh, that's right. Then Jerry said Scott does that on his own. So yes, you guys are right.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's all because we love you.
No, you don't. You roll your eyes at me and you huff and puff, whatever, blow the house down. So what do you got? Jerry, what do you think? Let's talk to your thoughts.
I mean, I think the episode. I mean, everything went way better than I expected it to. I just think that he was wrong.
Yeah. Is there a cricket there? I just heard.
I heard it too.
Okay, good.
That's my manual cricket sound.
No, we actually literally heard.
I literally heard a cricket.
All right,
Yeah,
good. I
what was
wasn't
that?
going crazy.
I'm just gonna say it. I think that he was wrong. I think.
Well, you're in
Because-
agreement
well, I mean,
with everybody who
because-
commented.
Well, yeah. I mean, I respect his opinion because everybody's allowed to have their opinion. You're allowed to, but it's wrong. It's wrong.
You're allowed to have your opinion, but that opinion is wrong.
Yeah, that's wrong. It's wrong. You don't agree with me, then you're wrong. If you don't do what I say, then you're wrong.
All right, Jerry. That's a good segue. You got into a little bit of a Facebook battle this week.
No, I didn't get in a Facebook battle. Somebody said something about my husband, and it was uncalled for and inappropriate. I told him that, and he apologized, and then the conversation became better. He questioned, and Jesus, I'm just gonna have to pull it up at this point.
Like I wasn't going to bring this up.
Why? Yeah, why are you bringing it up?
Because it makes our show better. Like, oh, there's drama.
The comment on Facebook was, how can the one host have a husband that believes in God, or believes in a God that hates him for being gay? How can he get along with a mate that's so delusional and self-hating? And I basically just said, please don't presume to know or speculate on what my husband believes. My husband is free to believe in what he wants. Do not assume that he is delusional or self-hating. Say what you will about me, but he is not part of the show and is certainly not open to your conjecture or criticism. It is completely uncalled for. And he responded with, I'm sorry for making it personal. He was mentioned in the show, and I genuinely wondered how the relationship could work, as mine did not, at least partly because of my atheism. Since he was mentioned, I assume he was fair game. May I suggest that as a topic for a future show? Again, my apologies. So yeah, I mean, he apologized. I mean, he was really basically expressing his, I guess, anger and what he believes about a believer. But then he thought, like, they're just my husband. I may say something about my husband on the show, but don't talk about my husband because I will shut it down. so fast. You know.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I think the guy
not here to
is
show-
going
not here
through
to
his
defend himself.
right.
He's not going to come on. I'm never going to ask him to come on.
No.
So, you know, that's it. Say what you want about me because I'm putting myself here for you to see and hear and give my opinions or say what I'm going to say. And free reign to say something about me, but not my husband. That's all.
Tyler, you're the quiet one. But this is your show this week, so I want to know. And you were fairly quiet during the episode last week. You kind of let Jerry and I go and interact with G-Man, whatever. And you had some points you wanted to say.
I think Jerry and I let you go because
All right.
it was mostly you.
Well, okay.
Well, I mean, that's
but-
fine. I was
fine.
okay with that. Yeah.
No, I was totally fine with that too. I mean, number one, I mean, it was your guest. It was our guest, but you arranged it, and you had a whole list of questions, and yep, exactly. And we even had to cut from that. I mean, it was.
I didn't get all.
There was
Man, I
just
wish
too much, and that's exactly why we want to
get him back on.
Yeah, to get him back on again and whatnot, and to be fair, I don't want this to seem like a cop out or anything like that, but to be totally fair, I was not familiar enough with G-Man to be able to challenge him on a whole bunch of stuff. I certainly had my questions when it came to clarifying something that he was saying or to ask a follow-up based on a previous question, because we all know G-Man's not afraid to talk, and he will keep going, and then he'll say something, and then that will generate a follow-up, but there wasn't enough for me to...
So as a fly on the wall, as you kind of were, what were your thoughts on it? I mean, you kind of watch it from the sidelines, and I kind of want to know what your thoughts were on that exchange or even that guest.
Well, again, most of my thoughts came out at the end of last week's episode. We did include a brief bit of recap at the end of the G-Man interview.
Mm-hmm.
And after a week of, I guess, kind of digesting it and now being able to look back at it, because that was a very in-the-moment response, which we all wanted to have, that in-the-moment. There were certain parts of it that were, I guess I would say, frustrating about it, but overall, I still cannot believe, especially after the two of you went through, and, I mean, Scott, I know you're way more familiar, but Jerry, you had also dived into a bunch of stuff as well. But the amount of things that I heard from the two of you in regards to, oh my gosh, what this guy's going to say, he's going to go off, he's, you can't control him as far as, he just keeps talking and you can't get a word in edgewise, all that kind of stuff. And so much of that didn't end up being true. It ended up being, and again, things got more heated than our Into the Fray episode with Paul Ridgway.
Mm-hmm.
But like Jerry, I absolutely do not agree with him.
No, I don't agree with him either.
Right. No, I'm not, and I'm not saying that you do. I'm just saying that it's one thing to get on the horn with somebody and start bickering back and forth and let it escalate into a gigantic fight. And it's another thing to have a rational discussion. Well, maybe rational is the wrong word. A reasonable, civilized, that's a perfect word. A civilized discussion with somebody about what their views are, even if those views are rooted in something that you completely don't believe. There's no reason for us to be up in arms and at each other's throats with that.
So,
what no good conversation really is comes from two people agreeing on anything. I think most good conversation comes from people who have slightly differing views on any one topic.
Right. I agree.
Except for the three of us.
No, we disagree on some things.
There are
Yeah.
some things we disagree on, like how much Scott thinks that he's beautiful.
I'm the
Star of
sharpest
the
dressed
show.
here.
I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful. Damn it!
Is that
Is it?
is
Is
that
it
the
that
new?
Midler song?
Oh, I was
Is it the
wondering. I
new
thought
what?
that might have been the new Mariah song.
Shut up. The new Mariah song is pretty decent.
Pretty decent. Oh,
Pretty decent.
yeah.
When I heard it, it was like first thing in the morning. I saw it posted on Facebook. It was like 7 a.m. and I was doing my morning routine.
What's that? What's the morning routine?
I don't think that's
The three
PG.
S's.
All right. We'll figure that out.
Everybody Google that. Except for you, Gavin. Don't Google that.
Gavin, it's
Ah.
So, anything else that we want to say about last week's episode before Tyler presents us with this week's?
I'll present. All I can do is present it to Matt when he comes on, and just for funny. And if he agrees to it, great.
Wouldn't that be awesome if the three of us, after all this time, were the ones that got Matt Dillahunty and G-Man together in one, one forum?
Here's the deal. I mean, when Matt comes on next month, it hasn't been confirmed yet, but it's looking that way. I'm basically just going to ask him as a joke. In a kind of a sense, not a joke. That's probably the bad. I'm like, all right, man, this guy is just. Didn't you just want to shut him up and shut him down? We can gladly host it and just be done with it. And G-Man's got to go on record saying, all right, I got my opportunity to have my debate with Matt. I will not talk about him anymore. I'll do.
Yeah,
I can do it.
That's not going to happen.
I know it's not going to happen, but that's my point. Is the proof is right there in our comments from last week's show of how this guy's going to act, and I'm going to go on record saying that I think that he's a good actor. I don't think he believes what he's selling.
Ooh.
Whoa. Wait. What?
I don't believe what he's selling.
You don't
Because
think he believes
what he's selling. That's what I meant. And
I don't believe what he's selling either. But
yeah, and here's why: because he's found his shtick, he's found his groove. And George Bernard Shaw said the secret to success is to offend the greatest number of people. And that's his thing. So I'm going to be as loud as I can about something that's going to be controversial to others, and I'm going to get views. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I don't know. But I don't believe in the. I think it's just it's an act. It's a shtick.
It was funny that he came on last week and he didn't have a Bible and he wanted to quote the scripture.
But he had a bullhorn.
He had a bullhorn. But he didn't have his Bible right next to him. And
well, G-Man doesn't use his Bible.
Oh,
but
no,
he's
got multiples.
More than likely, I think.
And I called him on that too.
I know, but it was like, but that was one of the. You can't suppose something and present it as fact.
Right.
The presentation as fact is one thing, but I can't really tell you. It was probably 10 years ago when I was in college. There was this group of us that really clicked and connected together. There were like 8 or 9 of us in this group, and we were all very staunch liberal, atheist, progressive. I mean, just basically the cliche young college kids, everything. And there was one kid out of our group who actually was a believing Republican, pro-life. It was the weirdest thing. But I have never had conversations as powerful and as maybe productive is the wrong word, but I've never had such well thought and just open discussions with a theist as I've had with him. And I felt like last week that I got pulled back because there was this glimmer in the fact that, and this is kind of where the paradox comes in, but the fact that G-Man there were those things where he said, I think, and there were his responses that he had where he said, well, honestly, I don't know. This is what I believe, but I can't present it as fact, and I actually found that as a refreshing point of view, because so many times, and Paul is a fantastic example of, well, this is the way it is because, well, I don't know, but that's just the way it is.
And if you don't agree with me, I'll type in caps.
Right, but do you know what I mean? Where that discussion with theists will always go down, well, not always, again, I'm generalizing everybody here, but most likely will go down well, this is the way that it is because it is that way.
Right.
And they won't say that I think, but I don't know. And that was one. Now, don't get me wrong. That totally contradicts so many other things that G-Man is saying and that he's so adamant about, and he knows this. So don't get me wrong on that. It definitely conflicts with the other things that he says. But, I mean, if that was his reality that he normally lived in, then it would normally be just decent conversations. But again, it goes back to Scott's point that I do think, I don't know if what he is saying he's completely untruthful about or what have you, but I do think that there's an element of show in there as well.
It's a lot of show, and I've been to his Google Hangouts, and I will say this, and G-Man, if you're listening, I'm just going to be honest with you. You are no different than Matt Dillahunty. You are no different than the person that you're complaining about how he treats his guests or how he treats the callers on his show on Sundays. I seen you just yesterday kick people off the show because they don't agree with you. So you can't go ahead and say that Matt is rude or malicious. You're doing the same damn thing. That's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, I think that it is a show. I think that's his thing. Does he believe? Sure, I'll give him that. He probably believes. But when you go into a Google Hangout, it's called G-Man versus the world, and it's a world of other atheists against G-Man. You can't. You're lying to yourself if you think for a second like, you know what, maybe they have a point. It's kind of go back to that question I had for Paul that when it answered, tell me about a time in the last 5 years where you maybe sat back and thought, you know what, they have a point.
Yeah, right.
If he's going to say, no, that's never happened, he's lying. So
I do it almost every day. Is what I question, okay, what we're doing here, should I be doing this? Why can't, do people who believe, do they have a point? Like, but I can't just get behind it. I don't know why. It just doesn't stick with me.
Sure. And I think
like last week on Saturday, my husband's church, they had mass and they had a dinner and dancing in the church basement. And
was there wine?
I went. It was. We brought our own bottle. had wine.
Sorry, I had to ask about that for last week. Sorry.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was white wine, so it was not blood.
Oh, that's good.
Um,
It's white blood cells.
so, and I went, to the dinner because it was food and dancing and, and I was going to go to mass, and then right up until, it was time to go, I decided, like right when it was time to go, I decided I don't know that I want to go, but for two reasons. One, because, I don't feel comfortable. And two, it wasn't in English. So, not that I don't. It's in Slovak.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Sorry. That's why I
Yeah.
was taking it back. Sorry.
So, and not that I don't know, because I'm very familiar with Mass and how it goes. But, I'm already not comfortable going to Mass and then not even being able to understand what's being said. When it comes to what the minister, the preacher is talking about, and what is it, the homily, where he speaks to the congregation, whatever. So I sat in the car and I watched Man of Steel.
What's that about?
It's the most recent Superman movie.
I know.
What? Man of Steel was a movie that came out in 2012. It was a reboot of the Superman franchise.
I know.
No, it came out in 2013, actually.
13? Really?
Damn. Yes. Because we were on the way to see the movie when I proposed, and that was a Saturday, and we went Monday and got married.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You've told this story before. I still messed it up. What?
What did you say? I didn't hear what you said.
I said 4 times. I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, it's not as many times as you pointed out that Prince symbol.
You guys want to see it?
No, I can see it.
I was going to talk about the Prince symbol. How you doing, baby?
I don't want to see that.
Anyway.
All right,
G-Man,
Tyler.
are we putting a bow on G-Man? Wrap up? Tyler, go ahead.
Sure. Are we?
Yes. Done. What do you got, Tyler? If he says thank you for watching, I'm going to be pissed.
And that's our episode, everybody.
15 minutes.
Have a good night. We're a half hour in, you guys.
Oh, cool.
We're doing good.
Which time?
From the time you walked away.
All right. What do you got, Tyler?
So, tonight, I want to talk about intolerance. And
you're sending us a link, aren't you?
I can if you want to.
No, don't send me a link.
No.
Because he doesn't know how to open it. If he doesn't get it right when it pops up, he doesn't know how to find it.
I can't find it. So
that's true. If you guys may have seen this or may have not, I'm gonna fill you in on it. And it kind of dug into me a little bit earlier in the week, in a sort of good way. Everybody's familiar with the Westboro Baptist Church.
I like them.
Yeah, you
know why I like them?
Why is that?
Because they follow the Bible correctly.
Okay. You mean to its absolute literal point?
Yes. So just marinate in that for a second there.
No, that's great. Because I want to get into a discussion about this. But anyway, and we can dive more, I guess, into the Westboro Church, whatever. But there was an article that I read on HuffPo this would have been on Tuesday, about this kid named Andrew Demeter. He's a vlogger, and he is also gay. And he managed to score a Skype interview with Shirley Phelps, the daughter of the late Fred Phelps.
Oh, I want her. Not sexually, but just I want her on the show.
Well,
maybe sexually.
he was able to get an interview, and maybe that we could as well. Ultimately, I don't want to say that he went after her, but it was a very cordial interview, and you can watch it and go through for the most part. But
the link will be in the description.
The link will be in the description, and the part of what I wanted to bring up here was his stance on this, and basically they talked about her beliefs and where it came from and all of that kind of stuff. But he gave back. He gave a statement back to her saying, and quote from him, "Well, Shirley, if you're going to heaven, I'm more than happy to go to hell." And I read that statement, and that took me back to all of my my opposition, I guess, and my views on religion in general. And this came up on our email group earlier in the week, and praying to, what if we're praying to the wrong God and all of that kind of stuff, even if you are.
We've had that multiple times the last 2 years.
Right. Well, yes, we have. But if heaven and hell do exist, and if these people who are going to funerals of, whether it's gay service members or just, people who didn't live in their lifestyle, and they're protesting at their funerals and all of that kind of stuff, would you guys be more than happy to go to hell if that's what requires you to go to heaven?
Absolutely.
If I'm going to be sharing heaven with Jeffrey Dahmer, I'm going to get a refund on that ticket to go to hell. Because Jeffrey Dahmer got saved in prison.
He sure did.
So I'm certainly the hell not going to go ahead and spend eternity in heaven, this miraculous, beautiful place with Fred Phelps, Jeffrey Dahmer, or whatever psychopath got saved in prison, or whatever nut job did whatever. I'm not. It's stupid. There's no rock and roll in heaven.
How do you know?
Have you heard? Because I could just. There's no rock and roll in heaven. If Ozzy Osbourne's not going to be in heaven, I'm not going to be in heaven.
Yeah, well, as long as I can take my MP3s of Mariah, I'm going wherever I can go.
She's going to hell.
Then I'll be right by her side.
Would you do Mariah Carey? As a gay man, would you have sex with Mariah Carey?
How do we get on that question?
It was, because my ex-wife watches, so I figured I might as well throw it off topic for a second.
Would you as a straight man?
I am a straight man.
Would you as a straight man do it with Prince?
No.
All right, that's saying something.
Really?
Paul Stanley, maybe. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
Seriously, Scott, if Prince came to you and said... Never mind, I'm not even going to go there. To answer your question with the short answer, yes. So let's continue with our topic.
Here's the part of the show, ladies and gentlemen, where you just missed a little section that was spliced out there.
So, in talking about... And Scott, I really want to dive more into this, your fascination with the Westboro Baptist Church.
I don't have a fascination with the Westboro Baptist
Church. No, I think you do. The question overall, though, kind of goes back, and I think we talked about it a little bit in the episode with Paul. But as far as the intolerance goes... of, well, let's take a step back. What the three of us would view as intolerance from Christianity in particular, and we'll just use that because it happens to be the most predominant religion here in America, but you could look at Muslim, Judaism, any of that other stuff, and what ultimately what they believe and what they don't believe is going to be what they believe is going to make them an inclusive group, and it's going to make them look intolerant of other people. So to keep it more, and again, this is not to attack a specific religion, but to keep it more generalized of that intolerance as a whole, and if we want to go back to the corny coexist bumper stickers and all of that kind of stuff, I mean, what kind of line does it get to where something becomes a religious belief, or where it goes from religious belief to becoming intolerance?
When you say it out loud.
Okay. Do you want to expand on that at all?
Indiana.
Okay.
And the freedom for religion law that Indiana passed. When you say, it's my religious belief that you're gay and I can't make a wedding cake for you.
That's discrimination. 100%.
Still intolerance. Intolerance and discrimination are basically the same thing.
Hmm?
To me, if you're intolerant, then you're discriminating. Because if you are intolerant of me being gay or this person being black or another person having blue eyes, or you're discriminating against them. It's plain and simple. When you say it out loud. Listen, Scott, I know you know this from hanging out with me back in 2006 and 2007. And I love the Broadway musical Avenue Q. I saw it.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
the soundtrack. There's a song.
I remember
on
I
there.
met you and I met in New York after that was done.
Did you? Oh yeah,
Because I
you
took
and-
the train
me
up to New York and met you.
Me and that D-bag
That
that
guy.
I was dating. I mean, he can't really call him a D-bag because he bought me the tickets to see the show. Otherwise, I probably would have never seen it.
I think I was supposed to go with you at that show, but I couldn't make it.
But whatever. There's a song on there. It says everyone's a little bit racist.
Sometimes.
I mean,
the show, don't you, Todd?
I've seen it twice. It's fantastic.
it's an amazing show.
It is.
To have a moment.
No, the first time I saw it was when I was in New York, and I literally I laughed so hard that the gum that I had came out of my mouth and it fell into the seat right in front of me, and the girl who was sitting in front of me was also laughing, and so she was leaning forward, and then she leaned back like right onto my gum. It was so good. It's so good. And then I saw it again here in Minneapolis. So I saw it in both. So
everybody has. My point is that everybody has those thoughts. I can't say that I don't, but it's when you say them out loud. That's what's wrong, and that's what's intolerant, and that's what's discriminating, and whatever else label you want to put on it.
So now here's a follow-up, and there's no right or wrong to this, but I want to get both of your guys' opinion, because when you say something out loud, like, I'll just throw something out there, I don't know, Scott's a little fruity because he's constantly checking his appearance every time that he's on the show. That's being intolerant, but is there a difference between saying something and acting something out? And I'm
not sure I follow.
Well,
it's a shtick that we talked about earlier. It's that shtick. It's the G-Man shtick. That's him. That's his act. The three of us, we're just being who we are Sure, I can be a little goofy on the show, and that's kind of who I am. And the eye rollers are these two.
So I'll take it to an extreme. Is it more intolerant to say that blacks can't eat at the same counter as white people than it is to take that black guy that dares to sit at the whites only counter and take him out into the woods and lynch him?
No. It's both as equally intolerant.
Okay.
It's both equally.
Okay.
I think it's more to act on it than to say it. But even still,
but then that's not equally though. If one is more than the other, that's my question. And this is something that I don't think that there's necessarily the right answer for it, but I think that this is something that I've always struggled with as well. And Scott knows very well, going back to Witness Wednesday. If you've ever taken the Lord's name in vain, well, then you've already committed murder in your heart. And if you've ever lusted over another man's wife, then you've already committed adultery in your heart. And they talk a whole lot about how basically in their argument is that if you've ever wished ill harm on somebody, you've already committed murder in your heart. That wishing ill harm and actually committing murder are the same level crime. And so when I look at something like intolerance, and again, I went to a pretty extreme example, but that again is where I kind of, both of those things to me are highly intolerant. But actually going through with, kidnapping somebody, taking them out into the woods and lynching them, to me, is on another level from just being a racist and a bigot. You know what I'm saying? So again, I'm not saying that I'm right and you're wrong. I want to get your guys' view on it, because it's one of those things that for me, I've always been a very open-minded person. My mother raised me that way, and I can't say that again, everyone's a little bit racist sometimes. I can't say that I've had 100% pure thoughts all of my life. And living in New York City, I can't tell you that there were, every night that if I was walking home, even if I was with a group of friends and walking through some shady areas, maybe, did I come to some predetermined conclusions just because the guys walking down on the other side of the street were black or were Mexican or whatever it might be? I would be lying if I said, oh no, absolutely, I had zero worries in the world. Did I act out on that? And is it an irrational fear of mine? Absolutely not. And I'm not going to be that guy that's like, oh, well, I've got this black friend and I've got this Mexican friend and I've got, so I'm definitely not a racist. But,
where have we heard that before?
Gee, I don't know.
In all fairness, I feel the same about anybody it doesn't matter if I'm walking in a shady part of a neighborhood, if I'm walking in a good part of the neighborhood, and I don't care if I see someone who's black, green, red, yellow, white. I don't care what color of the skin they are.
Green, you got to draw the line.
Well, yeah, that might be.
To me, everybody's a threat. I don't know why. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, well, and it's one thing to be cautious and another thing to constantly profile. And Jerry, you used to live in Philly, and and you're in Jersey. I'm pretty, Camden.
Yes.
And I can tell you that I have never been more fearful of my life than when I was in Camden. No offense if there's anybody watching that lives or has been to Camden. I should say Camden at night.
And I don't think it's because of the people that live there or the color of their skin of the people that live there. I
No,
think
Camden has absolutely nothing to do with race at all.
right.
No.
It's because Camden is Camden. It's just they don't have a police force.
Yeah.
They don't have a police force because they don't have. I mean, I hate to say it. It's no. There's no property taxes basically to be able to pay the police force. You
But
know?
again, my
to the
overall
best of my
point is,
knowledge,
but my overall point is then, so does that mean that I'm being intolerant to the people of Camden based on a lot of things that they probably can't control?
right?
You know what I'm saying? And I will go out and say, yes, I am. And am I probably ever going to go back there? No, probably not.
I'll go with you.
But,
You'll be safe.
Well, it's no different than North Minneapolis here. Yeah, North Minneapolis has got a bad rap too.
It does. Well, yeah.
Do they have a bad rap, or is it a true bad rap?
It's true.
It can
it's
be
in the news a lot. You know,
it is in the news a lot, but it's
like this. I mean, it's funny. Here's a great example. And
I mean, you have those places you don't go. I'm sorry, like the South Side of Chicago, or you don't go. Like the Bronx in New York. I mean, like there are just those places where you don't go there after dark if you don't live there. If you don't know the neighborhood and know the people there, don't go there. It's one of those type of places where, I have absolutely no problem going to Northeast in the middle of the day.
I want to get to a point.
Get your point. Jeez. Always around. Oh, hi.
Hi.
He's looking in the mirror.
No, I'm not. I wasn't even looking at any of you. I wasn't even looking at myself for the first time. I look good, though. So we have, in Minneapolis, we have Uptown. So we have a street called Lake Street. So when you're in the Uptown area, it's beautiful, it's touristy, everyone's walking. But it's like once you get to one cross section of that area, and I think it's called Lyndale. Once you cross Lyndale, bam, you're in bad area. Tyler, can you agree? Disagree?
Yeah,
Comment?
that's about where Lake Street turns bad.
And it's just, it doesn't even segue into bad. It's just, bam, you're in bad area. It's weird to me. So I kind of see what you both are saying with that. But I have no idea what this has to do with Westboro Baptist Church at this point.
Well, our topic tonight isn't Westboro. That's just where we started. Our topic tonight is intolerance.
Intolerance, okay.
Tolerance.
And I'm getting very intolerant of you right now.
The unwillingness to accept views, beliefs, or behavior that differ from one's own.
Sure. So, in that case, Westboro is the
epitome
of, yeah, absolutely. It's...
All right, Jared, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Does the F word bother you?
No.
No.
Oh, which F word?
The 3-letter word.
No, I say it all the time. What it does, how it will bother me, is if someone used it as a slur to me.
So I mean, like Westboro, like Westboro Baptist Church uses it. They have a website that actually says that word in it. To me, that's no different than the N word.
No, it's not. You're right. You're right. But
okay. I'm very sensitive. I'm not even a gay person. I'm even a black person.
How many times have I said that to you and called you that name?
A lot, but I've had black people call me the N-word too, just because it's funny. But I certainly won't call it back to you, or I would never say that to them.
You can say it to me in a joking way, and it doesn't bother me. But I know when someone's being slurry with it or joking with it, and I know how to react to each one.
Sure.
I can determine by the conversation or the pattern of speech or the person's behavior or whatever. It, it's just that I've come to learn that people are people, and some people are good and some people are bad, and you just got to take it. You just got
Yeah,
to
I mean,
just navigate every day, and
I said this, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. I said
it's
this in
fine.
last week's episode about even a G-Man, that this has kind of become a glorified therapy session
Therapy
for the
session.
three. And I think it's very, very true. And let's talk about intolerance for a second, and kind of when we experienced it, our memory of when we experienced intolerance. I remember when my family took a trip to Disney World. Um, when Tyler was so young, and I was older. But there was two women walking in front of me and my dad, and they were holding hands. And if you need to bleep it, that's fine. But this is the way that he said it to me. He's like, "Look at these two dykes." It wasn't the word; it was how he stressed the D of the word. You know, it was with more punch.
That's intolerance.
That's absolutely, well, yeah. And I was very uncomfortable because to me, I just saw two women holding hands because I was so young. I don't know, I was younger. I mean, I don't remember how old I was, maybe 15, 16 years old. That there was just two women holding hands. That's how I view the world now. That's how I view the world then. But the way that he said that made me very uncomfortable. I'll never forget that.
Now
If you,
imagine being gay and
yeah.
having your father say something like that.
Another example, I was walking on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, and there was this crazy person. I think I sent you the picture of this crazy man. And there was this family. There was a husband, a wife, and a child, and they were all African American. And this medically crazy person, that's the best way I'm not trying to be intolerant by any sense of the word, was walking past them. They were walking the same direction, but he was walking a little bit faster. And he turned to this little boy who's probably no more than 5 and shouted the N-word in his face and walked away. And those are things I remember, and that's a sad part.
Was the family black?
Yeah.
Oh, did you say that? Because I might have spaced out when you were talking.
I
Okay.
did say that. Yeah, African American. Usually do when I talk. That's fine.
No, it happens when a lot and almost all the time.
Okay, that's fine.
It's a side effect of my medical condition.
No, I appreciate that, Jerry. But what I don't appreciate is Tyler's intolerance of agreeing with that he actually spaces out literally when I speak. But that's okay.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
See what I mean? So those are my two stories as far as intolerance that I remember.
Hey, look, I grew up with it all my life, not just from kids in school, adults around the corner, wherever I went, and still today,
Jerry, can I ask, when did you come out? I don't think
I was...
You don't have to answer if you don't want
18,
to.
19 years old.
Okay.
That's when I first, I was really that's when I started telling people, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like 18, 19.
Well, no, it's just, it's interesting to hear about that. I mean, because, like, my college, well, the four of us that lived together in New York when I went out for college, my 3 roommates were all gay. And they all had, like, my actual... So there were 4 of us, there was 2 in each room. So my actual roommate, Tom, hadn't even come out at that point when he was in college. And one of the other ones had come out when he was like 13, 14. Something like that, and then the other one a little bit later. But it was just it was interesting to me because I went to a suburban high school that was mostly white. We did have a couple of other ethnicities thrown in there and whatnot, but there was nobody in our class that came out until after we graduated.
Mm.
And so it was, I don't want to say it was a brand new experience for me to know somebody that was gay at that point. It was one of those things where I kind of lived in this shrouded world of I didn't really know a lot of what was happening on the outside of things. And was I intolerant because of that, or was I just more naive? I don't know. I look back at it, and to go back to Scott's story about experiencing that intolerance, I shared on an earlier episode about my dad sitting us down at the table, and that was the biggest moment of intolerance I'd ever gone through in my entire life. And it was also what confirmed that I would never be a religious person, especially a Christian. And the fact that you couldn't accept somebody for who they were, that was the ultimate intolerance to me. But I do remember one other, it actually happened before that incident, which was, thinking about it now, it was so weird because my dad was the one that stood up for it. But I worked with my dad for 2 summers, and we did like painting, sheetrocking, like basically like remodels of house and stuff like that. And we were at a work site off of Lake Minnetonka, and here in Minnesota, that's like if you live on Lake Minnetonka, that's one of the posh areas here.
If you've ever seen Purple Rain, it's mentioned. In
Minnesota. And so we were working on this multi-million-dollar house, and they were adding $1 million addition in and doing all that kind of stuff. And we're sitting around with this crew and having lunch, and there's probably just kind of like, there's probably like 7 of us in this circle. And, the older guys they've finished eating and they're smoking their cigarettes, and we're just hanging out. My brother and I were both there, and we're these kids that are still not even graduated from high school. And one of these guys starts going off, and he's telling this story, and then he kind of it's this story/rant, and he starts talking about these spics that are taking all of the construction jobs in the area. And my dad immediately shut it down and was like, whoa, hey, dude, my kids and whatnot. Which going back and thinking about that is how he was like, dude, that's totally unacceptable. But for me to be intolerant towards gay people is totally fine. You know what I'm saying? It just, that kind of thing just blows my mind.
Yeah, it's
and
hard
how
to...
you can be so accepting and embracing and tolerant of one thing and be so intolerant of another.
It's hard to try to figure out what makes people believe what they believe or think how they think.
And that's why I gave up.
Yeah. I'm just like, okay.
Until tonight.
You're an intolerant D-bag. You're a nice person. And it's just whatever. You can be a mean old grumpy person if you want to be. I don't have to be your friend. And that's just the way I look at it.
But you may still have to be that person's son, or their brother, or their nephew, or what have you. And that gets, Scott, how do you deal with it with your dad?
What do you mean?
I mean, is your dad still like that?
Yep.
Do you have a relationship with him?
Do I have a what?
Oh, do you have a relationship with him?
Sure. It's cordial for the most part. My dad taught me a lot as a kid. He taught me what not to do as a parent.
As did my dad.
You know, and I think that Tyler, you and I have both had these conversations before. Yeah, my dad is a very, very, very good actor. This is gonna get real for a second. Holy crap! Um, my wife and I, bought this house in, late October, early November, and my parents came out to see it well after Christmas. So there's kind of paints a picture for you, if you will. It was probably not till February that they came out and saw the house. And in our upstairs kitchen, we're thinking about knocking out a wall. And just my dad's attitude towards the house was just vicious. And it was vicious because my wife was at work. If she wasn't at work and she was there, it'd be a completely different tune. I'm going to treat everybody the same. I'm going to treat everybody with as much respect as I can, and just be good and be kind to people. I keep going back to the whole be kind to everybody, but I have no idea what your question was. I'm just kind of going off on a tangent.
Scott, any final thoughts?
What was the topic again?
Jerry, any final thoughts?
I got it.
Go, Scott.
Be kind to people. People are different. Be kind to people. The world would be such a better place if we were all accepting of other people.
No, the world would be such a better place if we were all allowed to smoke pot.
I prefer this to be a drug-free show, Jerry.
Sorry, I totally interrupted your final thought.
Yeah, and you got my kid curious now. Thanks. What's that mean?
Do you see the little cat tail behind him?
Me? Yeah, I got.
There's a little cat tail. Aww.
You see him?
Yeah, I see him.
Next week, Scott, I have a request. If you could wear just slightly shorter shorts, that would be great.
You know, those shorts from the 80s with chicken legs.
Jerry,
Do you have some hot sauce over there, Scott?
No, we have salsa though.
wow.
Red's hot sauce. I put that on everything.
All right.
Final thoughts. We should stop being intolerant to Scott's behavior. Maybe we shouldn't stop being intolerant. Alright, he got me back by interrupting my final thoughts.
Final thought this. All right, this.
Thanks, everybody, for watching.
God, this is the worst show ever.
We'll see you next week.
Probably not.
Thank you for watching Positively Godless. Look at the links below or in the screen or wherever they are. And talk to us. Bye. Stupid. What?
That was awful.
It's still recording.
Please record a message. Afterwards, your message will be played back to you.
Special guest this week.
Wow. Remove from group. Okay, there you go. Skype test call is done.
I'm back. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. I really don't think so.
It is almost midnight there.
Yeah,
Can we wrap
let's
this
wrap
up?
this up, please.
It's midnight, Cinderella. Don't you worry none.
Ooh, good
'Cause
song.
I'm Peter the pumpkin eater, and the party's just begun.
Great song. Great song. Love that tune. It's Garth Brooks, Tyler. Garth Brooks is a country
Shut up.
singer.
I don't think that you have
I'm sorry, Scott. It just happened.